think things are pretty much what I thought they would be and dreamed they would be. I just want it to be something that becomes virtual reality in general. I want to see it become more and more widespread, more impact on the world.
And he's back.
I was going to say there's MC. I was just going to take some questions from everybody here. It's fun.
One nice things about crashing is that you can get back fast. It's awesome.
One thing that can be said about Second Life is that we still built it really early, and I think obviously it can be so tough sometimes with the frame rates and the lag and all the challenges of it, and the fact that you still got to use a client, that's a full power client that's specialized. All those things are artifacts of the fact that we built it. We successfully built it really before its time, and I think that's intriguing. So it's pretty fun to be involved with something that you're building it kind of before history would naturally have created it, and I find that both exciting and obviously as an inventor and a designer very frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be great to take some questions from people, and so we got a bunch of people with question marks out here, and let's see if I can help you. We can moderate maybe a little bit with some of this going on.
This is just such a beautiful build, having spent so much time in center camp at Burning Man. It's just so. I'm just panning.
Well, it's amazing what we can do nowadays with sculpties and mesh and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I know. I've been wondering lately how much of Second Life is mesh. I haven't spent very much time in World lately. I'm curious as to how that's caught on. I know that's always been such an interesting, contentious issue.
Let's see if we can get ourselves in the main chat. And Barbara, could you help me? I'm with selecting questions and pointing people out to ask their question. Okay, Will Burns. Okay, let's go with Will. Says Philip, given the advancements over the past 10 years or so, stuff like Solipsys, decentralized metaverse from INRIA, etc., fundamentally change underlying things. If you could build the system again today, I guess the question is if you could rebuild it today, how would you rebuild it?
Yeah, sure. Let me take that. Obviously, there's lots of things I would do differently. There's a couple of big advancements, though, that have happened. Remember that I started the company in 1999, which was that first year I went to Burning Man. And it took about 4 years to build Second Life to the point that we is kind of similar to how we know it today. And then, of course, we made several pretty big adds to the feature set and stuff since then. But what was really different back then was the nature of server infrastructures. When I started Second Life, I always imagined that it would be an open-ended system in which there would be sort of multiverses or many different types of servers being run by many different people and organizations. And when I was talking about running on Crissy Field and thinking about the architecture, that was actually what I was thinking about. I was thinking about a more generalized model that would safely and securely allow somebody that had a certain avatar and inventory to be able to connect to different regions, where the regions weren't necessarily run by the Linden lab; they were run by anybody. And I think that's and as we got Second Life ready to deploy in 2002, I mean we didn't have things like Amazon EC2 that we have today or Rackspace. We did not have these immense, almost free farms of computing resource. We thought we were very cutting edge at the time, and that we could just buy these pizza box, as we called them then, rack mount computers that contained, were functionally identical, so we could kind of mirror them. We could image them with the same code, and we could throw all these machines together quickly. But we still had to own them initially in our own space, and then in co-location spaces. And today, you would never do it that way. You do the whole thing on top of EC2. So one thing I think is if you rebuilt Second Life today, of course, you'd rebuild it to run completely on these types of cloud, computer networks. We did not have the cloud. I think that would enable us to build it from the ground up as a multi-tenant, environment where there were different, grids, and I'm aware that's being done in a couple of different ways, but it hasn't yet, kind of reached scale. And the systems that have multiple servers still, to my knowledge, I'm sure there's been lots of work and thinking done on this, but they still haven't profoundly and well solved the problem of, me bringing my avatar with all its content and textures instantaneously from one, simulator to another that are basically owned and operated by two different entities. And the other thing is there isn't yet a kind of a model or a legal model or a regulatory model that would enable me to safely, res content that, like, I didn't want anybody to make a copy of or something like that on one SIM and, put it back in my pocket and then take it to another SIM that's owned by some other company and res it there. There are interesting regulatory issues around that, but and just design issues. And I think if we designed it today, we would design around that idea. And then I guess the other thing today is we're almost there with things like WebGL, where we could potentially not do it with a client. And of course, the other thing is, if we designed it today, we would look at the emerging paradigm around mobile computing devices and different interfaces and cheap hardware and all the stuff that is there now that just wasn't there then. So that's a few things I'd do different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I log into Second Life on my mobile client more often now when I'm traveling than firing up the PC and jumping in on a PC-based client. Mary's got a question. Mary Ann's our comms manager and a great builder and artist here in Second Life. Mary, why don't you go ahead with your question?
Great.
So Mary says, do you feel that Second Life has fulfilled that original vision you had at Burning Man? Has it moved far beyond it, or has it not fulfilled it?
Well, I think that functionally the experience itself for the people that are here, like all of us right now, has very much fulfilled it. I think the couple of things that are missing are, we don't yet have that face-to-face kind of human contact, that you and I would be having if we were standing, sitting 4 feet apart at Center Camp at Burning Man. And I think the biggest piece of that is our ability to sort of look at each other's eyes and look at each other's bodies. There's an increasing amount of research that suggests that an enormous percentage of communication that goes on between people, perhaps 80%, is nonverbal. And while we do have a tolerably good, I think quite an excellent, in fact I'm delighted to be back using it right now, 3D voice system, it isn't enough to deliver that, that stunning, sense of presence that the real world delivers, in and out every day. So I wanted Second Life, and I want Second Life to be a complete replacement for reality that allows us to explore all the possibilities that come from sort of not being bound by the laws of physics. And the face-to-face interaction isn't there yet. And I'd like to see that happen. And the other thing is just that the sheer challenges of it still keep it from being a pervasive, commonplace, daily experience for everybody. In the same way that, say, email or web browsing is now a daily, commonplace experience for, most all, and we're going to get there very quickly, to all, travelers of Spaceship Earth here. So I'd like to see virtual worlds be something that everybody in one form or another is using, daily. And I should just say, I'm still just blown away by the thought of how wild it's going to be when that day comes. And I'd love to help us get there, and we're not there yet. But the experience we're all having right now, minus the eye contact, I think is stunning, and frankly, is better in terms of detail and I don't know intrigue and complexity than what I imagined when I first started.
It's amazing how this has shrunk the world, and we can work as a virtual team with people in Germany and people in Australia and people all over the northern North American continent together, and it's a pretty awesome interface. We've promoted it within Burning Man to help bring people together, not just in Burn 2, but in the regionals that have sprung up all over the world that are having their own burn events, and also among like the art car builders at Burning Man. We've got a tremendous ability and a bunch of people that want to help out, helping them prototype their ideas before they start welding metal together. And
wow, that's amazing! I didn't know
the community together quite a bit. I used to run the DMV here in Second Life, and I've been with the DMV in Burning Man and as a hottie out there in the sun. And I was trained as a ranger here by Dusty for a bunch of years, and actually one of my most favorite things to do is to ranger out there in the playa. I'm a Black Rock Ranger as well, and you see me out there as Diver Dave. Mo wanted to be skipped to the question, but Jesse, you've got a question for Philip. So if you want to type that in, fire that away. It says, as a real-life educator, I'm interested in virtual worlds, particularly accessibility, particularly simple applications with a lower learning curve for educators and students. One thing that could help this accessibility is an official SL-supported mobile, tablet, or web version. I know that there are already such apps available, but they're not official SL ones, and the university where I work cringes upon official things. Any thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, as I said before, the core challenge is that on the tablets, the work hasn't been done yet to figure out how to translate the movement interaction with objects effectively. The other challenge is that WebGL, it looks like it is getting good enough to do the kind of rendering we're doing here, almost. But by the way, WebGL, for example, the 3D audio that we're doing right now, well, that won't work in WebGL. That's actually a dedicated client problem. So I think there are some major. I mean, the short answer is, and I'm saying this I'm saying this to you guys, as you know, as a board member at this point, who I'm not involved in what Second Life Development is doing, so I can't speak with authority for what the planning cycle looks like for Linden Lab. But to my knowledge, we've not worked, nor are we aggressively working on like a tablet version right now of the main Second Life client. And we don't have any immediate plans on that. Because we've got to make it work well enough and accommodate the complexity of the interface and render well, and that is still a daunting problem. Again, because we built this thing a little too early. I mean, we're all sitting in the middle of I think I did these numbers a while back. It was so amazing. This sim contains like 100 megabytes, or no, sorry, like 100 gigabytes of data that's sitting here with all these textures and everything everybody's wearing. Now, we've got to get all those objects and all those textures down to that client render, and that is a tough problem. And to Will's point on accelerometers, yeah, absolutely. I think there are ways to use accelerometers to do 3D interface. They just haven't quite happened yet. I haven't seen anybody kind of prototype that out or show me a demo that works. But I think we are. I think it may be that using the multiple degrees of freedom that are afforded by these accelerometers and devices is interesting, and I hope to kind of play with that a little myself. I'm an electronics guy on the side, and I've been wiring up these accelerometers lately just to play with to see how cool they are and how low latency they are, and they're pretty fantastic.
Very cool. So we've got a question from Roman too, and I think Roman sent that card across me.